Greetings and welcome to Make Programming Fun Again. My name is Karol Moros and this is video number 8 in the Bitcoin series. In the previous video, which I uploaded today in the morning, we started working on controller tests and we started testing the workflow related to putting things in the cart. And in this video, I would like to continue on this idea, and I would like to finally implement actual sessions with cookies. So the first thing we did with cookies was we tested if whenever a user submits a post request to the cart items endpoint, that a cart item is created, and if there was no cart ID in the request, if there was no cookie with the cart ID in the request, then a new cart is created, and the new cart item is created with the ID of that cart. And that also means that we should get a cookie which contains the actual session. So in this video, we're going to implement a middleware to fetch the session from the cookie. So I'm going to start by creating a new file in the handlers directory. I'm going to call it Middleware.go, package handlers, and this is going to be a function. And middleware consists of functions that return the take handlers and return handlers. So the simplest middleware would be something like fetch session, and it's going to take the next handler. This is a handler chain. This is a similar pattern to traditional Express.js, and this is going to be a handler, HTTP handler, and it returns an HTTP handler. And in order to return an HTTP handler, we are going to return an HTTP handler func. Now this is a type that's basically an alias, and it implements the HTTP handler interface. So this is going to be a function. I'm going to use autocomplete for that. And inside this, whatever happens inside this function will be the actual middleware. And now the reason we can actually implement it like this is because I'm using ChiRouter, and ChiRouter makes it very easy to use middleware, which is implemented like this. So in here, first we are going to want to fetch this session from the actual cookie. So we can get like request cookies, or you know what, we can actually fetch a cookie by name. So the cookie will have the name session cookie name, and cookie error equals our cookie. If there was an error, that basically means no cookie, or the cookie header is malformed. And actually okay. So in this situation, because there will be two steps we are going to take, and if either of these steps fails, for example, when there is no cookie, or if the cookie is malformed, or if it's assigned with a different secret, then it means we are going to basically treat the request as if it's coming, as if it has no session. We are not going to return any errors. We will just ignore that session. So in this situation, I'm going to just write a helper function like this, and it's going to be called decode session cookie, and it's going to take a pointer to a request, and it's going to return a session, and I think this or a pointer to the session, and I think this we have a struct called up session or an error. So first we fetch this cookie from the request. If there was an error, that means that the cookie does not exist or is malformed, and we return nil and the error. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to decode the binary, and that's going to be, and for all of that we're going to actually need the cookie store. So this means that this fetch session is going to be a bit more complicated. So this is going to be the return type actually, and we're going to have to accept a cookie store, which is going to be of type session store, I think. Wait, cookie store, cookies session store. Yeah, that should be cookies session store. And that cookies session store, no, wait, what? I think we have a cookies session store thing, so this should be from this package, right? And then we're going to accept the cookie store as in here as well, cookies session store, and then CS, and that's going to decode cookie value. If error is not nil, return nil and error. And then we have this in the session file, we had this decode session helpers. So we can just return decode session with this binary. And then this function will be even more convoluted because we need to return a function that returns a function. So return function, and this function will, so we're doing closures in here, and we are going to pass the cookies session store to the middleware, and then that middleware is going to return a middleware. And since Go has closures, that means that the anonymous function that we passed to this middleware will be stored, will be copied to the context of the middleware we return. So you can basically just call session error equals decode session cookie with the cookie session store and the request. If there was you know what? Oh yeah, I'm just going to initialize this with an. I'm just going to initialize. I'll type it first and explain what it means. Obsession. If decoded error is decode session error is nil. Session equals decoded, and this means that if we did not, if we failed to decode the, if we failed to decode the cookie, we're going to have an error. But if we did not fail, we can just assign it to the value, to that value, and if we fail, we still have a default value which we're going to get with the 0 values. So I'm going to store the this session on the context. This is a technique that is kind of common in the Go world. I think it's frowned upon by some, but I still don't really know for what reason, except that it's maybe it's because it's like a map. It's like a map, a hash table, and that can have performance implications. But I don't really know of any better way to do it. So I'm going to create a new context, and that's going to be context with value. And that basically just clones the context and assigns a new value. And it's going to be the existing context of the request. And then the value is going to be called session. And then the key is going to be session, and the value will be a pointer to this struct. And then we can say next serve HTTP with the same response writer, and the request is going to be with context, with this context. So I don't know how well this works, but maybe you can just run tests. Oh, it won't make any difference because the router is still not using this middleware. So use fetch session with the cookie store, and we can rename this cookie store to CS, like so. And then let's see if this changes anything. It doesn't seem to change anything in the request. It's still, the tests we wrote before still pass. And we could probably do something. Okay, we can probably just write in the next middleware, which is going to be fetch card from session. And that's going to take a database connection, because we're going to need the database connection in order to fetch data from the database. So the signature is going to be very similar to the previous one, except that we are going to be returning, we're going to inject a different dependency here. Return HTTP handler func with this. And for now, I'm just going to call next serve HTTP. This is just going to be a no op, and we can still use it in here. Fetch card from session with the database connection. Okay. And in cards.sql, I'm going to write a new query called get card by ID. And it's going to fetch not just the card, but also the count of items and the grand total. So it's going to be select ID, CID, count items. We call it item count. And then sum of CI quantity times product base price in euro as a decimal, and that's going to be grand total from card C, join card items CI on C ID equals card items card ID, join products P on P ID equals CI product ID. Where CID equals this, limit 1. It's like the limit 1 is probably overkill, because the ID column has a unique constraint because it's the primary key, but it's probably a good idea to add it nevertheless. And let's see what SQL cgenerate says. So now if you go to models, or if we go to Parsing, what do we get? We get card by ID row. Yeah, I think this is good enough for now. We could probably give it like a nicer name, but it's probably good enough. So we're going to store this card ID on the session as well. So session equals r context value session and I'm going to cast it as a pointer to app session. And if this fails, it means that the session is like the session value is a different type because the type cast failed, or that there is no value. Well, let's see. In case there is no, okay, I'll probably just, okay, yeah, okay. If okay, if not okay, we just next server HTTP and return. Or you know what, we can also do something similar, find card by session. So db queries dbtx. That's also going to be just a helper, and it's going to return a pointer to queries get cards by ID row and an error. So first we you know what, we probably don't need it. We can just make it nil. It's probably better to keep it yeah, whatever. I'm just going to go with the flow. Var card, it's going to be a pointer to the queries get card by ID row. So by default it's going to be nil. And then we can, if we manage to find it in the session, we can cookie session not found in context. Yeah, if our helper function does not find the session, or it does not find the card in the database, then we're just going to treat it like there is no card. So if session wait, what? Why is this going to be an invalid type though? Oh, because we need to pass a request as well. So R is going to be a pointer to the request. So now if session card ID, can this be new? UUID. Do we have is? Can we compare equals session no UID no UID? Can we compare it though? Nice. Okay, I think we can compare it because it's not a slice, it's an array. So if it's a null UID, then we return nil. You know what, actually we don't really have to return an error in here. Or okay, well, card ID. Yeah, we probably don't. We can this may help with debugging, but we can just ignore it for now. If the card ID is null, we return nil, and then card error equals queries new UDB get card by ID request context, and then session card ID. If error is not nil, return. Oh, we just return card, and this we don't have to return. So if found error, if found equals fetch find, or what the find card by session are found is not nil, card equals found, like so. So we can still fall back to the default value in here, and then we do something similar to here. We're going to store the card in the session and then serve the context. So like so. So now is this going to work? Okay, there was an error. No required module provides package github.com go first UID. That's because we do not want to use this UID package. We want to use the one that we have in go.mod, right? RG UID in go.mod. Okay, we have this package, right? We want to copy this one. Okay, what is the error now? Null UID type is not an expression. So can we somehow compare it? UID is or wait, is there like is okay, so this is a UID. Are there any methods on this UID? There is a okay, so maybe I should use the null UID in the session, or use like a pointer. So because, you know, in the app session, I'm going to store this as a pointer to a UID, and then will this help? Okay, cannot use item card ID as github.com UID value instruct literal. So in card item controller, we encode session card encode session. Yeah, this just has to be a pointer, and then cannot use session.card ID as UID value in argument to queries and you get card by ID. So where is it? Cannot use, that's here, I think. So that would be let's see. So now the request is actually performed and nothing changed. So I think it's a good moment to commit. Fetch middleware, and then okay, so we are calling this middleware. So we could do something like this. We can, in the handlers, we can I'm going to call it load cart from session. I'm going to call it load because that's going to imply that there is a middleware that fetches the cart pointed to by the cart ID field of this app session struct. This is the value and stores it on at the cart key in the context as a queries get cart by ID row value. Okay. So in here in cart item controller, we can then check that, you know what, I'm actually going to write the test first, and then we're going to check if this works. So cart items with the same product ID. So okay, now what's cart service? We want cart controller test. So it sets a cookie, and okay, so we are actually setting a cookie, and I'm going to rename this test example at some point, but for now I'm just going to continue writing in this example. So we're going to create a new request, and then we're going to have a new payload. So like this. First we're going to add 3 of the product, and then we're going to add 2 of the product. So I'm going to make the same request, and then we're going to add the content type, and in this time we're going to add cookies. You know what? Add cookie. So we're going to have to make a fake cookie. Okay. So the cookie is going to have the name config session cookie name. Value is going to be cookie value, and then HTTP only true. Same site is going to be, doesn't matter. Secure true path like this. Okay, and then let's try performing the request, and pray for the best, I guess. Make test. So we made a request, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to assert that the counts have not changed, but I think, yeah, so we can see that the test is failing because we made an assertion. We made the assertion that only one card and only one card item are going to exist. We copied it from here, but actually we are getting a new card created. So we want to reuse the old one. So card controller. Let's see. So we're going to get the and what is okay, so this is a type of the params. So we can just fetch the card from the request context value card, and we parse it as get queries get card by ID row. If there is a card in the cookie, and the params card ID equals card ID. Wait, what is in here? Like this, right? Let's see if this works. Make test. So now we're getting a segmentation fault, which is interesting. Where does it come from? Line 56. So I'm going to debug DLV test CD handlers, DLV test, and then breakpoint on card item controller.go, line 55, continue. Okay, next. What's card? It's nil. Okay, so we want to make sure that the card is a pointer and it's not nil. Okay, and card is not nil. Okay, make test. So now the tests are passing, which means that if we okay, no, but the tests are passing, but we're getting a 500. And what does it say? So this means, wait, can I actually try and run the test here? No, okay, it doesn't work anymore. So DLV test, city handlers, DLV test, and then I'm going to breakpoint on line 59, continue. Next, P error. Okay, and next, P error, that's the second iteration. Insert or update on table card items violates foreign key constraints. Card ID is not present. Okay, so what is the card? What are params? Okay, I am going to rerun it with the previous breakpoint. Continue. Next, pick card. Okay. And what do we have in the session? I think there may be an error in the middleware. So I'm going to make a breakpoint in the middleware Middleware.Go line 58. Okay, then it's going to be handlers Middleware.Go. Continue. Next. P-card. Okay, continue. And then this is the second request. So next. So what's in found? Find card by session DB. Found is not nil. Okay, then maybe there is a request. Maybe there is an issue in here. So find card by session. I'm going to put a breakpoint. Wait, how do I remove breakpoints? Clear all. Okay, I'm going to add a breakpoint in find card by session. So that's line 41. Okay, maybe I have to restart it. Continue. And this is the first time this is going to happen. So next, P, okay, P session. Okay, continue. Next, P session. Continue. Okay, this is the second iteration, P session. So P session now contains a UUID. Next. Okay, and then next. So what does card say? For some reason, the card is returning an empty thing. So I'm going to see in the database, in the test database, what do we have in cards. So we have a we have card items with a quantity of 3. But why does get card by ID return an empty thing? Like what gives queries cards? If I run this query with this card ID, the column CID must appear in the group by clause on be used. Okay. So this is failing because of a different reason. Okay. If I group by limit 1. Okay, now this works. So I just need to modify this query and group by 1. No, I cannot do it here. I have to do it in cards squeal. Group by 1, limit 1. So squeal C generate and make test. So now we are getting 204 on both tests, and this means that the controller is successfully reusing the existing card. And then we can controller test. So if we pass the cookie like this, this is very verbose, but we could probably do something about it at some point. Card error equals queries new db get card by ID context background, and then we're going to need the last card ID. So I'm just going to run to var card ID. Or you know what? We don't. Okay, I'm just going to fetch it from here. Var card ID is UUID, and then error equals db query row select ID from cards order by ID descending limit 1, which is going to fetch the last ID, and then we scan to the card ID, require no error, and this imported the correct package, and then we pass this card ID in here, and okay, this one's context, so context background, and then assert equal t decimal new from int 5 card grand total, and assert the item count equals 1. This way we are going to fetch the data for the last existing, okay? Our grand total is 250 because it's 5 times 50, I guess. So make test, and then now it wants it to be an int64, okay, like this. So the tests are passing, and yeah, so this is pretty verbose. We have a pretty decent understanding of the test, and actually we don't really need to wrap it in a subtest for now. Will it still pass? Okay, yes. So now we have tests for adding products to cart in the service. We have product tests for adding products to cart over the controller. And this means that in the next video we can actually combine these two together, and we can add the add to cart thing to the actual views. But actually, you know what? We can do it. You can do it right now. Starting the server. Can you get the Bitcoin rates? Okay, we are. This is failing because we don't have the Bitcoin rate controller. Stand by while I fetch them from the API. Yeah, I had to pause the video to get a new token. Didn't allow. Okay, and now we run the application, and we get this beautiful view. I think this is not as beautiful as it was the last time we checked on the other screen, and I think something is off with the CSS. Like, why is this so small? Okay, I specified it that it has to be 80 pixels, and it is 80 pixels. Okay, and what about this? This is 80 pixels. And okay, and now this is it says item center justifies center, but why is the button? Okay, the button has a margin above it, so maybe I should make the text a bit smaller. So text XS or something. I don't think it helped a lot. Like text SM maybe. I don't think it made any difference, you know. Tailwind, how do you specify font size? Text XS. So why did it not help? XS. Do I have to actually specify it in here? Why is it not inherited? Okay, I think there was some caching involved, so I'm not going to put it in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a form in here, and we can watch the cards table. Like, okay, so now there are no cards, and then I make this action equals card items. So I'm going to add a form in here with a method equals post. And then this boot button is going to be of type submit by default, but not everybody knows it's that it defaults to submit, so I could do it. Okay, and then input type equals hidden, name equals product ID, value equals product ID. I think it's product.id.string or something. Okay. Let's see if we are getting a form. We are getting a form. The form has a hidden input, and then we can set a quantity to be 1. And then in the network section we can specify that we only care about requests for documents. And now if we click add to cart, we got a request that set a cookie, and the cookie is some value. I cannot resize it, I don't know why. And then if we go to Postgres, we can see that there are cart items, and then there's a cart and there are cart items. So now if I make a new request, I can see that there are 2 cart items, and they are both they both belong to the same cart ID. But let's say I open a new incognito tab and open localhost 3000, then we don't have cookies. So if I add something to the cart, you can see that the item was added to a different cart because it has a different cart ID, and that there are 2 carts in the database. So, and now let's say if I add the same item twice, what do we have? We have an item with a quantity of 2, which means that okay, this may not be the best UX, but we are currently already storing these in the we already have the cards in a database, and the next logical step would be displaying like a link to a card view, and then starting to build a checkout view. Obviously, none of this is beautiful, but I want to implement the checkout part before I go to Europe in June, because I'm pretty sure if I go to Europe, I won't be making any videos. So I'm not going to concentrate on making it pretty. I want to concentrate on the checkout process and on the on the payments. So if you enjoyed watching me type away on my computer, you can consider liking this video. The source code for everything written in this video is available at github.com/moros/kinenomichi, and there is also going to be a link to this repository in the description below. You may also consider liking my channel, Make Programming Fun Again. And if you really have become my greatest fan, you can consider signing up for my Discord waiting list. If we hit 100 signups, I promise to start a Bitcoin server, Discord server, sorry. So I'm going to call it a day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.